Just like the guy who did the voiceovers for movie trailers. Last summer. I mean, this summer.
Last summer, it was me.
One
This
of these
summer,
summers
it's again.
from the creators of Midsommar.
Midsummer comes Scott Summers in the movie Summer, which actually makes sense because Scott Summers came from Nickelodeon. Holla.
Hey.
Hey, we make references and bring it back. We start going off on tangents, makes no sense, then we all loop it back by the end. Which is why we're not a strong start. So on that note, welcome back to Not a Strong Start, a podcast by filmmaking to talk movies, television, talk a bunch of complete nonsense, but we wipe it up at the very end. I'm your host, Daniel's Modern Life.
I am not your host, Zany to the max.
Yeah, he is.
And I am the third wheel, right? That's what we decided I am. The third wheel for
You
you
could be
two.
the tricycle.
Anyway, I'm the tricycle girl now, and
The
I'm a
tripod.
powdered toast woman. Tripod. Hey, this is me. This is what I look like.
Hey. So in this week's episode, we thought, we all were watching Quiet on Set, and we thought it'd be appropriate to talk about some of our favorite 90s cartoon Nickelodeon shows. Is that the reason why I came up with this? No, but hey, perfect timing. Can't blame me for it. So...
Well, we might as well talk about it now before all of our youth gets ruined at this point. So let's talk about it now because pretty soon every show that we enjoyed, some dark secrets are going to start to come out.
Oh my God, man. It almost feels like everything, right? Like even music, you hear about it, like, not to mention certain artists, but like, they're all coming under fire. Everybody's coming under fire, okay? So when they say zany to the max, Jose, they're literally zany. I didn't know what the definition of zany was until it's now being discovered right now and reported by the media. As we're going to get into these 90s cartoon shows, but first, we're going to hit you with the current event.
Speaking of things we enjoyed from childhood, I decided to keep the current events to do with that. So, high five?
That's what we say, try five. It's like all
Try five.
of us. Do it so I can use it for
All
editing.
five of us.
There we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was high-fiving the wrong camera. So the original creator of the Child's Play series, who has worked with the Child's Play movie series as a whole, and it's been working with the TV series. He came out saying that he's actually in the process, or it's probably early stages of creating a new Chucky or Child's Play movie. Now we know that series has had its ups and downs. We had the first one that came out, they were pretty good. Then it just really lost its way midway through. But then I felt like the last couple that were released, like the I think it was the Curse of Chucky and the Cult of Chucky, which started leaning more towards the horror. It started kind of getting better with it, so hopefully it's more towards that. But we are probably going to get another Chucky movie. What are you guys' thoughts on that? We'll start with you, Marie.
I've
My
never
thoughts
been
exactly.
Yeah, I've never been a huge Chucky Child's Play fan. I think I've seen like the first one and like that's it. Like I don't know. It wasn't really my thing. I'm just like I'm just with these franchises, I'm kind of like, let's leave it. Let's just leave it alone, move on to new things. And I don't know why now. I feel like it's just not the era for a scary doll movie anymore. Like
Well, I mean,
I
Megan
just
was a
like
hit last year.
So I'm saying, Megan.
well, but it's that type of doll. So it makes sense in this era that, you know what I mean? If they want to do, there's types of dolls they can make scary movies about these days. He's from like what is the brand? What is the name? Good Guys or something like that?
So good
No,
people.
the good people, good they thems.
But even then, you can't even say good either because then it's like too much. Like, what if they don't feel like being good that day? So it's like, pleasant, pleasant them,
Yeah. Content
pleasant
people.
day,
Placid,
placid,
kind of
Yeah.
placid and flaccid,
mediocre, placid and flaccid.
placid and
Yeah, that's the kind of
flaccid.
doll. That's the doll you want to buy. That's a doll you need.
That's the doll
You
you
put
need.
you put good use of that doll.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't care about a Chucky series, a new Chucky movie coming out. I don't care. I don't care. I'm sorry. If people care, that's good, but I have no comment. Sorry.
You had a lot of comment. You just don't care anymore. You have no more comment. Yeah. I don't care either. Shocker. The first one I like. The first one I like. I think the first one's fun. I saw. I think there was one sequel. I don't remember which one it was. That was kind of funny, but I can't remember which one it was. So could be a
The
figment of my
Bride, maybe.
imagination. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe
I
that's
maybe
it.
saw the Bride.
You know.
Seed.
Yeah.
Seed?
No, definitely
Those,
not
those
Seed.
are the ones that went downhill.
Yeah, those are the
Right?
bad
Seed,
ones.
Child of Chucky, whatever that one was.
This is the
Uh,
one where he's fighting for child custody. That one's not very good either.
Oh, it's too realistic. It's too
That's too
realistic.
realistic. Yeah,
yeah, the
but
one with Mark Wahlberg where they were like, afraid of thunder and they could,
yeah.
no, wait.
Thunder
Ro-
Buddies. Yeah.
Rondell.
Yeah. Which surprisingly, the show's pretty funny. I started watching Ted the other day, but I digress. So
Yeah.
on regarding them revitalizing it, I feel like they just touched it and it didn't do exceptionally well, I think. But then they did a TV show, which I don't know if that's doing well or not. So is that what's bringing them to do the movie again? Or is it because it's failing over and over and they're trying it again?
No, no, I think the TV show has his following, and I
Hmm.
think it's gonna take place in that world. So it's not a remake or a reboot. It's a continuation of what like the series has been by the original creator. So I think it's gonna take all the movies into place, the TV show, because the TV show is a continuation of the movies and they're gonna go through. I know we had a reboot, and I actually enjoyed the reboot. I felt like
With
it was a
Aubrey
good
Plaza?
interpretation,
I thought it was
yeah, and
okay.
reimagining of the story, kind of modernizing it. Megan before Megan came out. And here's the thing, I kind of agree partially with Marie on the fact that like some of these franchise should kind of just be left alone instead of like continuing to beat it. But then I feel there's certain things that is kind of an exception. Uh when you have like Nightmare on Elm Street with Robert Englund, you know, that personality of that character is Robert Englund, and then same thing here with Chucky, was used throughout the series in this TV show. That actor is only gonna be here for so long. So like I feel you should take advantage while you still have him, because no one's gonna play that character the way it has been played. And it's gonna get to the point where if you're gonna do more, you're gonna have to recast and it's not gonna be the same. So why
Unless
not
you
give it a try?
you could do AI voicing, right? Like how I'm sure they're gonna do what's his face with like Darth Vader and stuff, right? Like James Earl Jones, like you know how he signed off on them being able to use his voice rights and stuff. So I think he
Yeah.
pre-recorded like so many different syllables and they can pull it and basically recreate sentences. They could probably do the same thing with that guy. The thing with Robert Englund is that it's this physical acting on top of it that you really can't use.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But there's also is like James Earl Jones' voice is a very monotone voice. It's not an overly expressive like voice. So I feel like that probably could be a little easier to recreate than like what Brad Dorff has created with the Chucky character. So I
Inflections and stuff.
Yeah. And while I'm not a fan of all the Chucky movies, I'm mostly again like at the beginning, I'm a fan of that character and kind of the personality that he's given that character. So I like to see. I've seen a little bit of the show. The show isn't great, but the character is still good. And it's still what it was before.
especially in the first movie, man. The first one had so much heart. Like when he goes and he tries to stab her. And do you ever see a little clip where they say it's so much funner? It's more fun in Spanish. He keeps on
Yeah.
Yeah.
just cursing at her. It's like, yeah, like that's hilarious. And when you see his little face, he's like adorable, just savage little face. Like I do love that the Chucky character exists. I do
Mhm.
like it. I wish they would do. I don't know. Then again, I haven't really given. I did see the reboot, so I did see that, and I did mildly enjoy it. Like, it was pretty good. I haven't seen any of the series though, so I can't say if they're falling off or not. But it sounds like they're doing well with it, so maybe it'll be good. Let's get to our main topic about some of these '90s cartoons. So, should we start off with Nickelodeon? Do you guys want to talk at all about the documentary at all on the
No.
Quiet on Set? No,
Honestly,
skip right through it.
I haven't watched it.
I
Once I
haven't.
knew
Okay.
what it
I
was
don't.
about, I was like, I don't need to watch
Yeah.
that.
Perfect, because I'm going to explain to you very vividly everything that is discussed on this. No, I'm not.
I would
Um,
much rather that than watch
yeah,
it. I would rather
it's
hear it
actually
from
not
you.
favorite '90s cartoon. So how important with us, growing up in that era, how important was the cartoons for you around that era? Like, how much did it shape you guys as the adults that you are now? Let's start off with that. So, Marie, you want to start us off?
I felt like cartoons for me personally. certain ones, especially that I'm not even going to talk about in this episode because they were just I should, but it's too popular. Some of them are too popular. But it was such a family thing to do. Like every night at dinner time, my parents and my brother. Well, if we weren't at the table, we were in front of the TV and we'd watch Ninja Turtles. And after Ninja Turtles, it was Count Duckula. Did you guys have that in America?
Not Duckula.
We had the cereal.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that Chocula. No, we this was
Yeah.
like this was a duck vampire, and there was that, and then after that was Rocky and Bullwinkle. And when Rocky and Bullwinkle came on, we knew like okay, time to get ready for bed. So it was just like this um what is that word for like not just tradition, but it was I hate when I
Routine.
do this. I routine, but
Memory,
and no,
routine.
no, no. Anyway, it was just like this like tradition that we did. So I just feel like it's not really like that anymore because when you watch like cartoons and stuff on TV, it was at a certain time and you had to watch it at that time. It's not like we can just like put on Netflix and sit there and just like take it for granted. Like we had to be dedicated to the cartoons that we watched and we had to have this specific drive and like desire to watch it. So it was just a big deal when we'd all watch it together and everything like that. And I personally some of these cartoons you could find pieces of you in some of the characters and you can relate to them, especially when there's like an ensemble type cartoon, which I might talk about after. But I don't know. I think it was way more impactful than it is nowadays. Like my kids aren't still talking about Octonauts and that they watched when they were like really young and so they've moved on. But like the ones that we watched like made us who we are inside.
Because I think a lot of that is like less saturation, right? Like it wasn't as
Yeah.
saturated back then, so there's less shows to talk, to watch and all that.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if I watched, an exuberant amount of cartoons compared to like other kids my age because I was spending more time watching, horror movies and things like that. But the few that I did have, like I really did like love. And there was, like Marie said, kind of routine from it. So, like I remember what was that? TGI Fridays and you had like those shows, but there was always like that was my homework procrastination programs, and the cartoons were really good with that. Once it hit like 3 o'clock, that's when you would get certain duck-related shows that were all entertaining, and I would just like waste my supposedly homework time, watching those just in time for like my mom to get home, and I can tell her that I did finish the homework that I never did do, because I was watching the cartoons the whole time. So, it was a very good distraction. And then the Saturday morning was the routine. Like I got up first before everyone else. TV is mine. I'm gonna watch all these cartoons until they get up and tell me to go do chores or something like that. So it did feel very like routine spots throughout it, but I don't know if it had the same like overall importance that maybe it held for other people.
Yeah, I think the fact that there was a routine is what made it so special. Because now when you say it's like, if it's like Netflix, Netflix is kind of doing some stuff now where they'll drop like new episodes, like maybe two every Wednesday or whatever it is. But you don't have to watch it when it drops. Like you'll watch it when you do. With this one, you had to, and that's what made it so fun and so special was because it was more like a family experience that you guys would sit around and watch together, if everybody was into it. So, yeah, it had a big upbringing.
Ritual was the word I was looking for. It was like a ritual. And also like you said you have to do it watch things at certain specific times and now you can watch it anywhere you are in the car at a restaurant like kids
On
can
your
just like watch
phone.
on your phone. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you can watch it everywhere you can watch a cartoon, like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. But when I think about being a kid and watching the cartoons I mentally am transported to that memory in my surroundings where I am, like every lunch hour at my grandma and grandpa's, so it makes me remember that like I, being in like their little TV room and I can like see exactly where I am. And now it's like it's just I can't see how kids can't just take it for granted. Everything is like, what's your memory going to be sitting there watching whatever cartoons that are out right now, like in the car, like you're just watching it in the car. Like it's just not as special. It
Yeah.
And
isn't. It was
not only the
back
mobility
then.
of it is like they don't know what it is to not be able to pause something that you're watching. because it's
Yes,
on TV. Like, Mom,
that's
wait,
right.
please give me 10 more minutes. I can't miss this.
And not having to use a
Yeah.
VCR to save episodes. You know what I mean? Like everything's just so accessible now.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
just leads to like VHS roulette, where it's like, okay, which one was the cartoon?
Yeah.
And which one's the one?
What'd you have in your house, Jose? What kind of tapes you got lying around where it's like a roulette? It's like,
Hey everyone, let's take a moment to talk about where I've been getting these new Not a Strong Start t-shirts from. Head on over to itsnas.threadless.com, the only place where you can get Not a Strong Start merch, whether it's our newly designed mascot or just your favorite movie logo now with some Nas flair. You can rep your Nas love on tee, hoodie, mug, rug, and so much more. So get yours today. Just click on that link below and have yourself a strong start. And not a strong, have a not a strong start, have a start that's strong, but not so strong. You know what to do.
Right back on track as we've been. So let's pop that VHS tape and hit play. What are some of your guys' favorite 90s cartoon shows? So let's start off with the Nickelodeon shows. Marie, go. I should watch that.
um, I crying thinking about the memories, nostalgia. No, I have to say Ren and Stimpy. Ren and Stimpy is number one.
Yeah.
I it was a huge, huge deal in my household. My dad and I used to watch it. We had a Ren and Stimpy marathon recorded on VHS. We used to watch it all the time. It was my dad really loves gross like toilet humor and stuff. So we would like watch it and like bond over that. And like Ren and Stimpy had these shots that they'd use that were like really graphic close up, like detailed close ups of gross
Yeah,
things like up a nose or like a rotten tooth or
Toe.
just a toe. It's like,
Yeah.
and those were my favorite parts because it was like the animation was so like juvenile looking, and then they'd hit you with these close ups. As I'm like, this is art. This is beautiful. I
It
just
really
loved it so
was.
much. It really was. So it was my I would say it was my introduction, my gateway into like more adult humor was Ren and Stimpy. And I think I owe a lot of my stupid, gross humor to Ren and Stimpy, I would think. I loved how they were kind of like a cartoon odd couple, where like, Ren was rough around the edges and grumpy and self-centered, and then Stimpy was like so naively happy and positive and caring and playful all the time. And I just loved the dynamic and like the opposites. It was so good. Uh, and just Powdered Toast Man, so funny. Log, so funny. They had all these commercials in there, so funny. Nose goblins don't whiz on the electric fan. Stimpy's fart named like Stinky that would like chase him around. Mr. Horse was my favorite. No, sir, I don't like it. He killed me. I loved the horse. And then my favorite episode was the rubber. I don't know if I can say nipple, but the rubber nipple salesman episode was my number one favorite. And it's on a streaming service here. And the only episode that they don't have is a rubber nipple salesman episode. It's not on there.
It's literally the
And
only
it's
episode.
the only episode that's not on I think, I don't know if it's Tubi. I don't remember what it is my favorite one. I don't know why it's not on there, but I do know that I think the writer, who's Canadian, the Canadian's bad name, I think he got into some hot water with bad things. Coming out,
mm,
everyone. It's everyone. It's all of them.
Nickelodeon.
It's
nothing is safe.
Nickelodeon. Nothing is
Sense
safe and
sensing a
sacred. Like,
pattern here.
I know. So I have to go with yeah. I love Ren and Stimpy still to this day. It's so stupid. Like it's just stupid, and I love that. Love it.
I absolutely Ren and Stimpy was absolutely one of mine. That's why I let you go first, so you can steal the limelight.
Thank you.
But I love Ren and Stimpy. Powder Toast Man is one of my favorite things ever created.
Yeah.
Log,
Mm-hmm.
I that song gets stuck in my head when I hear it. Ren and Stimpy remind me exactly like my dogs. Like one of them an English bulldog, the other one the French bulldog. I'll let you decipher which one's which. It's pretty obvious. One of them is just big, dumb, and stupid. And I love Ren and Stimpy. It was one of those weird, gross ones. It was more like a kiddish version of Beavis and Butthead. You know what I mean? Like when Beavis and Butthead kind of came out, you know how it was more the reason why I say this because like the cartoon was kind of crudish. So a little bit like a crudeness
Mm-hmm.
to it. And there was definitely some adult humor in Ren and Stimpy that you're gonna miss. And I say Beavis and Butthead because kind of like that. But Beavis and Butthead, I mean, Ren and Stimpy, I just enjoyed more. It was way more my type of humor. with it. I saw that a bunch. I actually I bought like the whole complete series on DVD. So I love it. And now I got on Paramount, so I'm gonna watch them all the time. But I love Ren and Stimpy. Shout out.
I actually was not a fan of Ren and Stimpy. Uh, that main thing that you love about it was the main thing
They're
that turned me
gross.
off on Ren and Stimpy. I was like, when you're like closing, you're showing a wart and pus coming out and like all that stuff. I was just like, I'm good with this. So that was one of the things that I saw a couple of episodes. I'm like, I'm not. This is not for me, and I just kind of moved on. And if I would see it on, I
Powdered
would always just
toast.
skip right through it.
But like powdered toast, man. They'd have to cling onto his butt and he'd fly backwards. It's so stupid. It makes
But
no
every time,
sense.
right when he was about to like take off all the time, there was like a fart sound that they'd put in. It was like, "Brrrt,"
Yes.
and then he'd go.
Burnt
It's
and
so
he
funny. Oh my God. Oh, and
it,
it
it
is
it
such a spot.
and the way that they cling onto it, but like it reminds me of that Netflix show, I Think You Shall Leave. Have you heard of that show? Where it's like they have like a lot of gifts and things to it, but the humor, the guy that does, I think his name's Craig Robinson, something like that. Not Craig Robinson, but it sounds a lot like Craig Robinson. But it's that humor's exactly it reminds me exactly like Ren and Stimpy. So when you see some comedy things, you could tell right away they were Ren and Stimpy fans.
I was struggling between two, but I'm about to go with Doug. I
That's
have
a
to
good
go
one.
with Doug. Love Doug, and I think when that came out, I think when I started watching Doug, I was maybe I don't know, maybe second grade or something like that. I think when that
Mm-hmm.
started coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was approaching that age where Doug was and stuff. So I had the kind of that curiosity. I had come off of like Rugrats, which I was still watching, but that was like the earlier years, and then now going into Doug, and it just has such likable like characters, with Skeeter in there, and then Patty Mayonnaise. I remember everyone had a crush on Patty Mayonnaise uh, in there. And then, um, as a kid, I had a very vivid imagination. So, when I used to like play with like my action figures or like my Magic cards and all that stuff, it wouldn't just like be playing. They had full on like storylines that would like last over time, So it was like a continuous superhero, super soldier like soap opera that I would always have in my room with my favorite characters. So like I was able to relate a lot to like Doug because he has such a vivid imagination, creating his own superhero with Quail Man and all that, which out of all the animals you went with Quail, I'm like, I gotta respect it.
I love
And
that.
then
Yeah, so random.
there, the catchy like theme song, and then like the catchy song from like the Beats, also. So it has so many things that just like kept you entertained, but then it was like something to kind of look forward to because you were heading towards that age. I mean, it was nothing like the cartoon once you get there. But at that time, you're just like, that's what it's gonna be like.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. I thought Doug was awesome, man. Pork chop, like his dog was awesome. I
What?
liked the partnership that he had, but it was like those vivid characters that he created, especially with us getting into film and stuff, where a lot of it is creating characters or acting as characters. It makes sense that that's where our mind would go, is somebody else that's creative. So anytime you're dealing with like a creative character, it automatically grabs our attention. So I thought Doug, yeah, that's a good one, man. I went with Rocco's Modern Life. I thought I loved Rocco's Modern Life. The theme song was awesome, but like even just the side characters. So you had like this, so the main character, you had like a wallaby that's trying to live out being an adult in this very wacky, crazy town. And the characters and the side characters are way more zany and nuts than he is, and he's just trying to be a normal dude. That's it. But even one of his best friends, the turtle, is riddled with anxiety. And, like riddled with anxiety, and they just play and they make fun of people with like personality disorders, but they do it in such a way that's clever and hilarious and it's funny, and things that seem like just regular. I remember one particular episode where he's going to like their own version, like a Costco, and the parking It's like way the hell out there, and it's so far, and everything's exaggerating. He's this little tiny wallaby is just walking. Everything's so massive, and the giant carts and everything. Like you see how little he is in this big world. It's a funny way and interpretation of seeing this, and I just thought Rocko's Modern Life was hilarious, man. For some reason, they thought adult life was humorous to kids, and it just worked because it is like it's his adult life, but yet here we are as children watching it, and it was hilarious.
Which is funny because we just talked about Pork Chop, who was, you know, such a smooth dog. He was pretty much a smooth like dog. And then you have, what was his name, Spunky. Then you have
Yeah,
Spunky the dog. It was like
exact opposite.
opposite of smooth, just terrified at everything, full on panic mode
Yeah,
on a daily basis.
just dumb as dirt.
Love that you chose that one. That's my second favorite. And I love that you brought up the turtle because the turtle is my absolute favorite character in that whole
Mhm.
show. I saw myself in that turtle,
Yeah,
Beside me, and I'm like, oh my God, it's
yeah,
me. It's like Tales of the Nuclear Swan. Like, come on.
yes,
Like, what's with these cartoons taking these birds and making them like something
yeah.
extraordinary? Nuclear Swan, Quail Man.
His character reminded me of Little Shop of Horror. You know what I mean? Like Rick
Yes,
Moranis' character, it was very much
yes.
like that.
Seymour.
Yeah,
Seymour.
like Seymour, exactly. So that was cool. I also really loved All Real Monsters. I know we're not doing secondary stuff, but like
Yeah,
I loved All Real Monsters, man. Especially being horror
that
fans, like I loved it. It was awesome. All right,
was really
so
good.
what's a non-Nick show that you just absolutely loved from the 90s? Marie?
Mm. Oh, Sailor Moon. I had to go with Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon was just it for me. I was obsessed. I had all these toys, these lockets. I had the CD. And for my first singing recital, I sang a song from Sailor Moon, My Only Love, of course. It was so good. It was so good. My brother was really into it. And so this was another thing, another bonding experience for my brother and I. And he had this binder of all the Sailor Moon characters. It had all their stats and all their background information. And I would just sit there and study this binder. And what I really like about cartoons and shows like this in general is that, like I said, the ensemble type thing where like at Power Rangers and like Ninja Turtles and Sailor Moon had like these color coordinated characters with different personality styles, like different distinct personalities, so that every kid out there could like relate to one or look up to one or like that one's my hero. That's one I wish I could be. So Sailor Moon was like that. All the girls were extremely different. They all were their color coordinated ones. I loved how their powers or surrounded around the elements and that they represented a planet. So my favorite was Sailor Jupiter because hers was like thunder and lightning and she was kind of like a tomboy but like feminine and she liked to cook and I just loved Sailor Jupiter and I was like,
She didn't have
yeah,
gas
thunder and
powers.
lightning. She did not have, well, she didn't. Just
She's
imagine
Jupiter. She should have gas. Powder toast, man.
I'm I'm imagining it just like that, like doing your little spin, like oh, that would have been cool. You need to do a
Yeah.
parody on that. I just loved it. And there's like the whole love story between Sailor Moon and then her also like when her normal girl alter ego Serena and like Tuxedo Mask and Darien. I love like the anime art style. I used to draw Sailor Moon stuff all the time and like try to draw anime stuff all the time. I just absolutely loved Sailor Moon. And they changed a lot for the American version, actually, though, because there were characters in Sailor Moon that were really men in Japan, but they made them women in America because they're so feminine and they also had
Mm.
relationships with the same gender relationships. And just like Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune in Japan are a couple, but in America they just made them like friends. So it was a lot more sexualized. They had like toned down cleavage and everything for
Of
the
course.
American one. I'm not mad about it though, because they were like 14, so I get it. But yeah, Sailor Moon, loved it. Love it. It was so girly and I'm shocked that I loved it. But there's also like this like gothic witch side to it. So yeah, it was for me. Loved it.
I never I know I've seen Sailor Moon, like the images, I know absolutely nothing about Sailor Moon. So even when you're mentioning these other ones, like we talked about in an episode with me, I was like, wait, there's more? Like, I thought it was
Yeah.
just Sailor Moon. I had no idea there was other ones. No
All
idea.
the planets, all the planets. Then she has
And
like a
then a moon.
daughter, and yeah, and she's Sailor Moon,
Yeah.
yeah, and then she was like, there's like another like planet dimension where she's the princess and she doesn't
Is
know
she a
on
weaker
Earth, and she
version then? Is she just a moon and the
Yeah.
other ones are planets? Is
Yeah,
she
because she's
weaker?
not a planet.
no, she's the queen, she's the like the queen
But she's just a
princess
moon.
of like the moon. Uh, She's it,
She's just
man.
a
But then
moon.
but on Earth, her character is like the whiny, always throwing tantrums and boy crazy and emotional. So her character development had to get to princess, right? So
Hmm.
it was a big growth. It's really in depth, you guys. She has a daughter, and her daughter comes back, and she's like, "You're my
What?
mom." Like it's just yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
I
I
did
know it's
not know
crazy.
that. Yeah, like I said, I didn't know there was Sailor Planets in the first
Yeah,
place.
all of them, even Pluto, even Pluto's in there.
Oh, just for that, I respect it alone. Like, if they were to
Yeah,
like reboot it now, do you think they would have a Sailor Pluto?
Probably not.
better. They
Or
just
if they
shun her
did, it's
every now
just
and then, and then she
she's
comes
the one that
back
never
and like,
makes it.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the one that's
Yeah.
trying. And you said they call her Sailor Uranus?
Well, Uranus, Sailor Uranus, whatever.
I
I was
mean,
trying to just,
but do
yeah,
they
Sailor
call like
Uranus.
what do they call her on the show though? Uranus?
So when you're in your form, they call you like Sailor Mercury, Sailor blah blah blah. But when they're in their like just their schoolgirl form, they all have names.
Just
But
Becky,
yeah, yeah. Becky. One
Jackie.
of them's Ray, Sailor Mars. She's a B.
Ooh,
I know.
should have been an
Mention.
Very,
A.
very arid personality.
Yeah. All right, Jose. What do you got?
Um, I had Animaniacs
Hmm.
from the WB. It was like the cartoon version of like a skit show in a way, and I really like that because there was just so much to it. You had so many great characters that kind of even outlived the series itself. So beyond just like the regular like Dot, Wacko, and Yakko in there, which was silly, but then you had like Pinky and the Brain in
Yeah.
there who are very popular, and I still see people sometimes saying like same thing we do every day, try to take over the world, so you had that iconicness. You had other characters, was I think Mindy, like the little toddler who was always getting in trouble, and then the protective dog that was always risking his life to like keep her like safe in there. The mafia pigeons, like you had the
Mafia
mafia
pigeons were
pigeons,
great.
man.
Yeah.
Wasn't one of them called like Pesto or something, like
Yeah.
Pesto the pigeon in
It was
there?
such good fellas. You could totally tell it was like a straight good
Yeah,
fellas.
yeah, yeah. You had like the old wise guy who you could barely understand,
Mm,
in
yeah.
there. So it was like, within that one show, you had so many like different unique shows with like good characters going to it. So it was like having, seven shows in one. So that always made it feel like very like entertaining. And sometimes they would incorporate like real life uh people into it, or even other WB characters. I think, they brought like Batman in there, like Daffy Duck they brought in there and things like that. So definitely was one of my favorite non-Nick shows during that time frame.
Yeah, man. I even the chick boo, remember that the chicken, and then there'd always what even that one was so stupid, but it make me laugh because there'd be one guy that's just screaming out, "He's a chicken," and everybody else is like, "No,
Yeah.
no, he's not. No, he's not." He's
Oh
like,
yeah, the
"Look at
chicken.
him, he's a chicken." Like I just remember one time he was like a lawyer, and the guy's like, "What?" He's like, "He's a chicken," and it's like he's like going against them, and it's just the chicken's just like he's not even talking like English or
Forgot the
human.
chicken.
It was stupid. The great thing about Animaniacs is that it was very, very clever. Like
Hmm.
the dialogue was very clever, and when you go back and you rewatch it, it's very clever. So shout out to them, man. I like that one.
Hello, nurse.
Yeah, though. Man. So X-Men, I was obsessed with this cartoon show. It is by far one of my favorite, if not my favorite cartoon. I remember when they had like the collection cards and stuff. So with the X-Men, I used to collect them. And then my first side hustle that I used to do
Mhm.
was I would buy I would buy the packages of cards, slightly open them up, take them out, and I take out all the ones that I needed, and then all the duplicates, I put them back in, and then I just get like an iron, I'd remelt them so that way it melts the glue, and then I just go to school and I just sell them,
No,
flip them and
you
sell them to kid.
didn't.
I'm dead serious.
Ah,
Yes, I did.
This is
So
his first
oh,
hustle. His
this was my
oh
first.
first
my.
hustle, Marie. This is my first
Oh,
hustle.
oh,
So
oh,
that's what I
gotta know
used to
the other
do.
hustles now.
That was like first, second grade. I think I remember just sitting there just doing. I had like a little fanny pack where I sit there and just flip them, and I'd end up selling them. So they got a deal. It was like $1.25, $1.50. You bought them at the store. You buy them off me for $1. But it was all the cards I already had, so it was like a win-win situation for everybody, right? It's all new to them, but they never got the good
Yeah.
cards. I kept all the holograms and everything naturally.
Yes, the
So if
holographic
anybody's
cards.
watching
Yes.
this, if anybody's watching this from school, I never did that. I never ripped you off. But X-Men, it was so good that of course that they're bringing it back and we know that they're doing all that, but that X-Men show was so good and it kind of for me it was like it kind of felt like a way better version of Ninja Turtles, and I love Ninja
Mm.
Turtles. But what I mean by that is like even the X-Men had like a little bit of like rough kind of animation, wasn't always necessarily consistent the way that the Ninja Turtle was, but like the storylines, the plot lines, like everything was a more adult kind of centric a little bit. So even when you're hearing the storylines and what they're talking about, it's dealing with race. It's essentially like they're dealing with race. Like that's what they're dealing with, and it's great that they're bringing it back. So that way they're kind of readdressing that and they're making it more like surface level. But even watching it back in the '90s, it's absolutely what they were talking about. And they've created so many characters that ended up spawning and creating storylines and stuff for X-Men. But that the theme song is amazing, of course.
That's the good thing with like X-Men, like the Batman animated series, is that even though they were cartoons and they were appealing to kids, the actual like content of a lot of the stories were good for teens, for adults, so a wide range of ages. So you can watch that as an adult and still relate to some of the themes that they were putting out there. And that's
Hmm.
what gave it such longevity. And that's why to this day, a lot of people still hold it fond, just like they do with like the Batman series is for those same reasons.
They created Harley Quinn, right, from the Batman animated series.
Yep.
Yeah, so awesome. Marie, did you watch it?
I think a little bit, but it wasn't on my ritual schedule a lot of the time. It just wasn't on the schedule. It was like while I was at school or something. I don't know. I'm 2 hours
I
ahead.
think it was Saturdays. I think it was on
Saturday
I don't
Saturdays.
mornings.
remember. Was
That's when
Saturday
you would get,
mornings?
yeah, you would
Yeah,
get
Saturday
that. You could get the
mornings.
Spider-Man animated
Mm-hmm.
series. You can get the Batman. Those are all on the Saturday
On the same
mornings.
block. Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe it
It,
wasn't played as much here. I don't remember seeing it that
It
much.
wasn't that popular when you were young.
I had the cards. I used to collect the trading cards too. I didn't hustle them to people and break out an iron and sell it, but I had the cards, but I don't remember watching the show too much, unless I just don't remember. Because old fish.
it,
Saturday Moon.
it is funny you talk, Dan, about some of those themes that it did talk about, especially, it was represented, minorities and things like that, because that's kind of like what they were. So now that they like rebooted it and they brought it up now, and people are like watching it, they're like, "Oh my God, this show is so woke and doing all this." It was like, well, I can tell you never watched the original because the show
Yeah,
has always dealt with those
literally.
themes. This isn't like, oh, they taking X-Men and now they're gonna decide to give it like some of these themes. I'm like, tell me you haven't watched the show without telling me you haven't watched the show.
Yeah. They're literally based off of it. Like even in the comics, they were based off of it. They keep calling them like mutants. Like they're
Yeah,
literally just calling them mutants and stuff. Like, is that not telling you that it's about race and everything and like discrimination? Like it's literally
yeah.
what the whole thing's based on.
The two characters, Professor X and Magneto, they were loosely based off of Martin Luther King and
Yeah,
and Malcolm
Malcolm
X.
X. Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm
so it's like
saying. Yeah. All right, so let's hit them with the cue then. What is a cartoon that we did not discuss already that you want to recommend to our listeners? Something that they must watch, whether they have children or not, and they must watch it Alone? With a group of people? In the setting? What's the setting? Paint a picture for them. How should they watch this cartoon show? How do you recommend it? Should they be dressed in suits? Should they be dressed fancy? Should they be dressed in pajamas? Should it be a Saturday morning? Should they do it like Saturday morning style while they're eating cereal? How should they do it? SpaghettiOs with meatballs? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
someone has to be sitting on the floor in front of their TV, and there has to be a carpet because it's gonna you'll see. And then they're at their like, living room table, and they're eating spaghetti, and then their mom is calling like, "Did you eat all your food?" And you have to be watching Count Duckula and be like, "Yeah, mom, I ate all my food." And then you scrape your spaghetti on the floor and be like, "Look, I did it," because that's what I did once, I think, unless that was a dream, but I think I did. Like she wouldn't see it, and then it's like all over the carpet. Like, yeah, I'm done. Haha. She made spaghetti like 4 times a week. So
I
whatever.
was
I'm
gonna
sick
say,
of
I
it
was like, I like
already.
spaghetti, but
It was
four
in
times a week.
protest. It was like spaghetti again. Mom, I know you're watching this. You comment. You made it too much.
I would eat it. I love spaghetti.
But yeah, that's right. You got to watch. What did I say? Count Duckula.
Count
That's
Duckula.
80s. That's 80s, we said, right?
Yes.
It started
Okay.
88. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then Darkwing Duck,
Okay.
another duck one.
All right. So same situation, but Darkwing Duck. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jose. Hit us with the scene.
I guess I'm gonna go with Batman Beyond. And since I believe it was a Saturday morning cartoon, that's the one where you haven't even gotten dressed yet. You wake up, parents still sleeping, you sneak downstairs, uh, turn on the TV, not too high, because you don't want to wake them up, because as soon as you wake them up, your TV time is done. So
Yeah.
just low enough that you can hear it, just there in your superhero underoos, sitting down on the couch, maybe some cookies that you climbed onto the cabinet to get, and make sure that you reshuffle the cookies in the pack so it still looks full, especially with the Oreos. You kind of push them through the front so they don't realize that it happened afterwards. And it's like, oh my God, they ran out so quick, but you've been sneaking them in every Saturday. And then you kind of just sit in there. And as soon as you hear that creaking that they got up, you got to make sure you gobble it all up in there, sit on the couch, nice and relax, and then you're good to go. Batman Beyond.
There you
Also,
go.
it's a good show.
Cookie story. Cookie
Yes.
hack. That's a
So mine will be very similar because Hispanic things. As soon as the parents wake up, that's it. You're doing you're doing chores, so you gotta sneak inside and put on the TV. But first, what you would do is you would heat up some toast, put a little bit of butter. You gotta put a little bit of cinnamon, and you make your own homemade cinnamon toast. Man, that was so good. With a glass
yum.
of Nesquik strawberry milk, so bomb. That's
Mm.
important. I love strawberry milk. So you get a little bit of that. And then I would pop in, you know what? Let's go with Tiny Toon Adventures. So we talked about it. Play a little bit of Tiny Toon Adventures in the morning, but sometimes you laugh too much and too hard, and then it wakes them up anyways, and you got to turn off halfway through and you got to do the chores. So
That's a good
sorry,
one.
night ruined. Tiny Toon Adventure was great. On that note, thank you for watching another episode of Not a Strong Start. Please like, subscribe, comment, share on the YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Not a Strong Start. I'm your host, Daniel's Modern Life. Sadly, you can follow me at King_Sangre.
And I'm not your host, Zany to the Max. You can find me at This Is Mi Nombre on Instagram.
Except he's not zany on Sundays. The rest of it, Monday through Saturday. He's
Oh,
zany
no,
to the
yeah,
max.
yeah. There's no zaniness allowed on Sunday.
That's God's day.
And I'm the tripod powdered toast woman. You can find me at Marie Plays It All on Instagram. And I think you guys should just cling on to my butt right now. We should fly backwards out of here. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. But then the cool thing, though, is that if you rewind it, then it looks like she's flying forward.
Yeah. That's it. Hack. Another hack.